Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our men's advanced Bible study. Okay, 7th of August, 2026. Okay, my main topic will be about flock spine, which is flock spine cameras. Some new technology. We're going to look at that, and it's out of control with the police. Police is using it for themselves, and it's causing a lot of problems. But we're going to check it out. You go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. Those videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. We have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen. For those that want to support this channel, help it move along, that too would be greatly appreciated. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah. Tanak being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. It's from Genesis to Malachi. We don't subscribe to the New Testament, to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay, we don't subscribe to that. Okay, Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity in these last days, and also understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Okay, shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our men's advanced Bible study. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We have some current events, need to know information, some dialogue. We got my topic for discussion, which is what I mentioned earlier. It's about these flock spying cameras, right? And how it's being abused. Then our scripture reading would be we'd be dealing with China, right? China is in the process of arming and aiding Iran, which brings about a new global order that's already in place. We're gonna pick a scripture after that. We'll read that scripture, break it down, and then we'll go into our Q&A, questions, comments, any dialogue, or any testimony. Then we'll close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto Thee. Therefore we come before Thee at this hour, seeking Thy face, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before Thee as Thy servant David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before Thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Okay? For we desire to walk after Thee, O Lord, to keep Your commandments and Your testimonies and Your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by Your prophets. O Lord, allow Thy face to shine upon Your people and hear our plea. Hear and do, O Lord. Hide not Thy face from us any longer, for we need You so very much at this hour. Peace be unto You. Okay? With that being said, we're going to read the Psalms. Okay?
Right. Shalom. Brother Leonard, I'm gonna read Psalms 113. Sir, God's mercies are many. And it says, praise ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord. From this time forth evermore, from the rising of the sun unto the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all the nations, and His glory above the heavens. Who is like unto the Lord our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in the earth. He raised up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that He may set him with princes, even with the princes of His people. He maketh the barren woman to keep house, and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise ye the Lord. Shalom. That was Psalms 113.
Okay, got anything on that?
Yeah, yes, sir. Brother Leonard, just verse 6, um, where it says the just showing the distinction of who the Lord of hosts is versus Yahweh, says he
Right.
who, yes, sir, he who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and the earth.
Yeah, so it can't be Yahweh.
Right,
So we know that we know it's the Lord of hosts because he's being submissive to the power that's above him.
right, yes,
So
sir.
Yahweh had no ability, no reason to humble himself. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
exactly. Yes, sir. Almighty.
Right. So with that being said, we're gonna go into our current events. Okay, I'll play the first one, then we'll talk about it.
Said, if we had in Israel instead of in Afghanistan, we wouldn't have had to spend $1 trillion. We would spend a fraction of that, which is a few $1 billion a year. But I said we don't need that either. I mean, we appreciate it. I appreciate every amount of help that America has given us over the years. But I think just as we moved away from financial aid, economic aid, we can move away now from military aid and move to a partnership, and that's going to happen.
Israel, along with its supporters in the United States Congress, are basically trying to pull a fast one on the American people. Because while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel says he no longer wants military aid from the American taxpayers, the truth is actually a lot more complicated than that. So today we learned that Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman from Indiana introduced a non-binding resolution. I think the non-binding resolution part is also important to this story, so keep that in mind. But it's essentially to replace the $3.8 billion in annual military aid that we give to Israel as part of our memorandum of understanding. Just basically replace that with direct weapons purchases. Now, let me just note that I'm against allowing a country that's carrying out atrocities and genocide to purchase our weapons in the first place. So that doesn't really make the situation better for me as it is. However, that's not even the whole story. So here's what we know. In an ex post, Stutzman said the following: the alliance is entering a new era. My new resolution affirms that the United States stands with Israel, not out of obligation, but out of shared strength and shared strategic interest. Israel has come of age where our nation should contribute equally and share results equally. But Stutzman made sure to preview the proposal to Netanyahu first when he recently visited Jerusalem. And apparently Netanyahu said, "I like it." The prime minister replied after skimming through the draft House resolution. This is the direction I've been wanting to go for a long time. We want to stand on our own feet, Netanyahu added during the nearly 45-minute meeting on May 27th, which was also attended by Representative Adam Hamadeh. Now, Stutzman, who's a hardcore Zionist and Israel supporter, came back to the United States and introduced this resolution, which calls for the U.S. to develop a new memorandum of understanding between the two nations that would end the $3.8 billion in annual aid Israel receives from the U.S. and instead have the nation fund its own purchases of American weapons. But what happens in a situation in which our military is intertwined with the IDF? What happens when they basically get to be part of our military? And that appears to be the game that's being played right now. Rather than provide, billions of dollars every year, what if the IDF is basically integrated into the U.S. military? And luckily, Joe Kent, who resigned from the Trump administration over the war against Iran, wrote an incredible piece that I highly recommend you all read. It's published in Responsible Statecraft that really tells you what's going on here. And Joe Kent joins us today to tell us a little more about his piece and what he believes is going on. I totally agree with you, by the way, Joe. Your piece is titled U.S.-Israel Integration is Far from America First. We cannot outsource components of our national security to nations that do not share our interests. And that is exactly what this proposed scheme would do. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for doing it. I know you were on the show just last week, and so I really, really appreciate you taking the time. And I thank you for writing this piece, because as soon as I saw this non-binding resolution being proposed, I knew exactly what was going on, because just days earlier, this story broke about how there is a provision in the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act that would integrate Israel's military into our own. Now, help our audience understand what that would entail.
Yes, this is, I think, pretty clever of the pro-Israel lobby and the Israelis. Obviously, they know public sentiment against Israel is turning, and so now they're transitioning to kind of formalize this integration. And this is different than any other relationship that we have, even with really close partners like the Five Eyes, like the British, for example. We do some integrated training, some development with them as well, but fully integrating our technology and especially our research and development in a lot of really key areas too. We're not just talking about missile systems and traditional hardware. We're talking about quantum computing. We're talking about cyber technology, counter drone, the place where really the future of warfare is going. And so we're going to integrate the Israelis into this process, and this is going to give them basically hooks, if you will, into pretty much everything that we're doing in the cutting edge of defense and technology. And so obviously there's a wide variety of just blatantly obvious issues here. The counterintelligence aspect, I think, is the most clear cut for most people to understand. This is going to give the Israelis really full access to everything that we're doing. And as we've seen with this war in Iran, us and the Israelis, sometimes we will start off on a path together, but we will greatly diverge to our detriment. And I think the war in Iran, the fact the war powers resolution just passed in the House, that shows that public sentiment is moving away from the Israeli agenda. And so here come the Israelis baking this essentially into the National Defense Authorization Act, giving them the access they were about ready to probably lose in the traditional aid that we gave them. And I'm against us giving them the traditional aid, obviously, for all the reasons you outlined, what they're doing in Gaza, just how that relationship doesn't benefit us. However, in a traditional aid relationship, there still at least is the presumption that we giving aid to a country, we are the ones that have the dominance in the relationship. And that's a big reason why we do give aid, regardless of what anyone says. We give aid so that we can have some degree of control over what happens in most countries. We're going to lose that with this new relationship that we have with the Israelis. We're basically going to call them a partner. We're going to call them really a part of our defense apparatus. And I think that is a major threat to our sovereignty.
Starting something new is terrifying. When we launched our Shop QIT store, I was drowning in what ifs. What if no one buys it? Their 24/7 support team has your back. So if you've got an idea for a business or
historically speaking, with our relationship with Israel, is that a lot of Americans were not informed about all the various times Israel actually worked against us. You keep hearing that Israel's a special ally, but whether you're talking about USS Liberty, whether you're talking about, look, I know that Jake Tapper attacked you for what you said about us arming terrorists in Syria at the behest of the Israelis, but that is what happened. We literally armed Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists in Syria. And ISIS has actually had a bit of a relationship with Israel. There were ISIS fighters who were receiving treatment after getting wounded in Syria. They were getting treatment in Israel. In fact, Israeli media was reporting about that at the time. And so that works against us. Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11. So how does it make sense to integrate a foreign country's military into our own, given the fact that they put their interests front and center, even if that means doing wrong by their own allies?
This is exactly the problem. We just have to realize that us and Israel, regardless of what we say or how comfortable we are with them, that we just have divergent agendas in many cases, not to mention the fact that, as you pointed out, the Israelis have and will work against us. And this shouldn't surprise us. Just Israel is a very small country. They are literally at war with the vast majority of their neighbors. If you just look at the history of their intelligence services, again, the Israelis are pretty upfront when they actually tell you who they are. The Israeli intelligence services basically say, we will stop at no ends, we will use any deceptions, we will use any means necessary to further our nation's goals. So
applied, they'll kind of back away from this. But I do want to ask you about one specific thing that you pointed out. You know, a few years ago, the governors of Texas and Florida were getting a lot of backlash from the Democratic Party because they had implemented a ban on Chinese nationals buying up farmland or any property or land near military bases. And by the way, I gave them props for that. I thought that was a smart thing to do. If this integration provision passes, you note that Israeli manufacturers would operate production facilities in the U.S. and basically they would oversee some of the weaponry that we build or manufacture here in the U.S. Can you tell us a little more about that and why it would be a problem?
Yeah, that's a great comparison. This makes the whole China buying up property next to military bases look almost like JV stuff. I mean, this basically gives them the keys to the kingdom, and I think this being baked into the NDAA and allowing for the Israelis to come in and do joint manufacturing ventures that become programs of record. Because right now, Israeli companies, they can usually find a dual citizen, they can come to America, and they can attempt to get a contract with the U.S. government. And those contracts are hard to get. They're made on case by case basis. However, by actually having it codified into the NDAA, a lot of these different companies could become what we call programs of record, and that would give them basically the ability to get consistent contracts with the DoD. Then they're going to go to different parts of the country and they're going to say, hey, we can set up a manufacturing facility here, and suddenly they're going to be able to get influence with senators and with congressmen who are going to say, I'm bringing home the bacon for my district, for my state, we're creating jobs here. Again, we have to look at this from an intelligence perspective. This is just another means of leverage and manipulation that the Israelis are going to be able to use on our government. And again, we have to ask, like, what's the gain? Again,
what do you think about that?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I think this war has shown us how much Israel has already, the IDF and the military already won. Kind of to me, I think this war is kind of showing that that the U.S. does what Israel says, that they're more tied together than people thought.
Right, they already got their hooks in us already. They talking as if it's a way or a means to prevent it, but they already got their hooks in us. The
Right.
American government, the American military. Yeah, exactly. Okay, check this out.
So for years, America's nuclear strategy was built around one major enemy, and now Washington is preparing for something far more dangerous. A war involving both Russia and apparently also China. According to an NBC News report, the Pentagon is drafting a new nuclear strategy for conflicts where U.S. allies come under some simultaneous pressure from Beijing and Moscow. At the center of this plan is a renewed focus on tactical nuclear weapons. The question is pretty straightforward. Is America now preparing to deter a much larger war, or actually is it preparing to fight one with its $1 trillion budget? Take a look. The strategy is expected to guide the president on nuclear options during a crisis. One of its key themes is tactical nuclear weapons. Tactical nukes are not the mass.
Notice how they all of a sudden nukes is the big topic. You been checking it out?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Warheads designed to destroy
They
entire
got
cities.
something in the making.
They are smaller, lower-yield bombs intended for use against military targets such as troop formations, air bases, command centers, and naval forces on the battlefield. Even though they're called tactical, they remain nuclear weapons. Their destructive power can still be many times greater than conventional bombs. The shift reflects growing concern in Washington. China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal. Russia has more than 5,400 nuclear warheads, while the United States has more than 5,000. Together, the two countries account for roughly 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. The new strategy also comes at a politically sensitive moment. President Trump has repeatedly criticized NATO allies, questioned US security commitments, and pushed European nations to spend far more on defense. Those comments have fueled concerns about America's long-term commitment to its allies. This new strategy could therefore serve another purpose. Experts say it could be a move to reassure allies that the United States still has a credible nuclear umbrella if they face aggression from Russia or China. Officials say deterrence remains the objective. The aim is to prevent war, not start one. But history shows that every major arms race begins with the same argument: prepare for war to preserve peace. And that is why this new strategy matters, because it is not simply about bigger weapons. It is about how Washington believes the next global crisis could unfold. Bureau Report, Beyond Wired One. For all the latest news, download the Beyond app and subscribe.
Okay, got anything on that? Like I said, they constantly, all of a sudden over the last couple of weeks or so, they really putting the emphasis on nuclear weapons and nuclear confrontations and all that. It's like as if they're trying to subliminally tell us something. Okay? Here we go. This is some need to know information right here. Thought this right here was pretty interesting. Let's check it out.
Toxic chemicals found in extensions marketed for Black women. Here it is.
A style often deemed as protective for Black women is now under scrutiny as two new studies warn of health risks in hair extensions. On Tuesday, Consumer Reports revealing new findings that human, synthetic, and plant-based hair extensions from 30 brands have volatile organic compounds or heavy metals like lead.
Human hair, by far, had the most lead that we've ever seen in testing these products, orders of magnitude above synthetic hairs.
The study looked at 3 samples of each brand, and there were some exceptions. One product with no heavy metals, another with low heavy metals.
So that tells us that these manufacturers can make a safer product.
Nearly a year ago, we spoke with medical student Crystal Thomas, whose commentary on braiding hair led to Consumer Reports' first analysis.
I noticed my hair was itching. It was just difficult to breathe overall.
Now, research is expanding. The Silent Spring Institute, a scientific research nonprofit, testing 43 hair extension products.
We found chemicals in these products that are associated with cancer, reproductive harm, and also birth defects.
The hair containing 169 chemicals, including flame retardants and pesticides.
We found that all but 2 of the products that we looked at contained at least one of those hazard chemicals.
How exactly, though, are the chemicals entering the body? Because someone might say, well, it's on my head.
Right.
What's the big deal?
Yeah, and so what's really important to know is the scalp is, we call it well vascularized. It has lots of blood vessels, and so it can absorb whatever you put on it, whatever cream, whatever product you put on it. And so the scalp can easily absorb the chemicals that are in these braids.
This is a hell of a study, hell of an analysis, not theory, not conjecture, but fact based on the analysis of chemical construct. Now remember, the extensions obviously are epidermal. They're on the outside of the skin. But the chemicals they're citing are transdermal. They're able to absorb through the skin tissue and into the blood. Put it up full mass. According to NBC News, the same chemicals found in pipes, pesticides, and floor tiles are also present in wigs, some wigs, braiding hair, and hair extensions. A new study published Wednesday in the journal Environment and Health. very credible academic journal. Researchers at the Silent Spring Institute, a scientific research nonprofit organization based in Massachusetts, tested 43 hair extension products purchased online and from local beauty supply stores. They identified 169 chemicals present overall, including dozens of harmful substances such as flame retardant, pesticides, and compounds used to stabilize plastics. A dozen of the compounds found are listed under California's Proposition 65. Proposition 65 is known as the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act of 1986, which warns residents of chemicals known to cause birth defects, cancer, and reproductive issues. Additionally, 17 compounds that have been linked to breast cancer were found in 36 samples tested, the researchers said. In recent years, researchers across the country have been sounding the alarm over harmful hair products, many of which are used and marketed to Black women, used by Black women, marketed to Black women. Consumer Reports revealed last year that carcinogens were found in samples of 10 popular synthetic braiding hair brands. 9 of the 10 samples also tested positive for lead. Lead has not only physiological effects, but also mental effect based on brain chemistry. Chemical hair relaxers also pose a risk. The Black Women's Health Study, this was in 2023, found a 50% increased risk of uterine cancer in postmenopausal Black women who used chemical hair relaxers more than twice a year or used the products for more than 5 years. That's compared to a cohort that rarely ever used relaxers. And a 2022 study from the National Environmental Health Sciences found that women who used hair straighteners more than 4 times per year had more than double the chance of developing uterine cancer than those who did not use the same product. Harsh chemicals found in synthetic braiding hair and other hair extensions can be absorbed through the scalp, causing irritation, causing burns, and redness. That's according to Dr. Chris Purnell, director of the NAACP Center for Health Equity. They can also be inhaled, particularly when heated during styling, and absorbed through the person's hands. For people who are concerned about their hair extensions, braiding hair, and wigs, Alicia Franklin, a research scientist at the Silent Spring Institute, said to look out for brands that label themselves as non-toxic or toxic-free. She also suggested for a possible at-home remedy that is commonly found in the kitchen cabinet, apple cider vinegar. Recommended apple cider vinegar. There's a doctor, a medical doctor. He is the medical director of the Atlanta Fibroid Center. His name is Dr. Lippman. Happens to be a white male. He's a white male who has a Black female-centered practice, and he has been on Indisputable before. Sharon Reed interviewed him. He's a remarkable human being. I would not say so if he wasn't. But he was the first person years ago who proclaimed the connection between these hair products and fibroids in Black women. Fibroids, okay? He said it. He didn't care what the establishment said about him saying it. He saw it in his practice, and he's willing to tell the truth about it. There are people out there speaking up and speaking out. We'll bring updates to this study as more information develops.
Okay, what you think?
We know you appreciate.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. Yeah, this a big thing right here. Right, yes, sir. That's big because that's you mentioned the right. I was just gonna say that because he mentioned that dealing with the mental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything else
And
on that?
and just Brother Leonard, it shows too just how much because we see this in the food too. You know, shoot, a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
those same chemicals be in the food. So
Wow.
you know, so it just shows the intention.
Oh yeah. And a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
this, is that China that took over the manufacturing business, and they don't give a damn about
Right.
long as they get them, they make the exchange and get the money
Mm-hmm.
out of it. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care, man. They send all kind of bogus shit over here, and we just gobble it up. Right. Whether it's food, or products, or anything, if they put it on the market, we jump on
Right.
it. Crazy, man. Okay, so with that being said, deal with this right here. Good dialogue.
That's a loaded question, Judge. I think we have to say that there was no negotiation because ultimately we had the Iranians that showed up with a contingent of almost 70 people armed with all sorts of data, information, analyses because they fully expected a negotiation to occur. Instead, what they got was a team from the United States that presented Mr. Netanyahu's demands to them. And they can't accept those demands. And I think that's being made pretty clear. And while there was some discussion about the enriched uranium, ultimately the outcome was simply no, we cannot conform to your expectations. And our expectations are Mr. Netanyahu's expectations. So, frankly, I think the answer is pretty clear. We negotiated on behalf of Israel.
If Donald Trump comes to his senses and enters into some kind of an agreement, say along the lines of the JPCOA, which he condemned as a private citizen and literally ripped up in his first term, would Netanyahu try to wreck or disrupt such a peace plan so as to continue the war? Because without it, he has no political ground on which to stand.
Well, I think Mr. Netanyahu regards this as an all or nothing proposition. In his estimation, and I think in the estimation of the people that surround him, this is Israel's best shot at removing what Israel considers to be its most serious threat, and more important, its most serious obstacle to their domination of the entire region. Now, why do they feel that way? Because they have essentially unconditional total control of U.S. military power in the region. I think the CENTCOM commander, who's now Admiral Cooper, his predecessor was Kurilla. These men have fallen all over themselves to ingratiate themselves with Mr. Netanyahu, understandably, since that's ultimately the man that is calling the shots in the region. So I think Mr. Netanyahu's view is either I make this work, I realize the greater Israel project, it becomes real as a result of destroying Iran, or we in Israel are going to have a tough time surviving in the region. And I think he's probably right, because you can't call all of your neighbors subhuman or criminals and then expect to get along with them when the war stops. That's his position. So, yeah, I think he's in this to the bitter end, and he's going to do whatever he can to obstruct any sort of arrangement that brings this conflict to a close.
Were you struck by the language chosen by Prime Minister Netanyahu at a press conference after that negotiation was over, when he referred to Vice President Vance as reporting to him as other administration officials do daily? Do you think that was just a turn of phrase or revealing something deeper that we should know about?
Well, I think it was more likely a Freudian slip. Because remember, he went on to elaborate and say, well, I hear from everyone in the government in Washington on a routine basis, practically every day. They all report. I think he's telling you the truth. And, when he tells you the truth, you should pay attention because we don't hear the truth that often from him. So on this particular occasion, I think he very definitely is telling you what's real.
Before the war began, most Americans probably had ever heard of the Strait of Hormuz. It was functioning properly and commercially. Now, of course, it is the center of the conflagration here. How could Pentagon planners not have foreseen what would become of the Strait of Hormuz, how Iran would use it as a chokehold to resist American aggression?
Well, Judge, I don't know that they didn't realize that. You know, I've got to go back 20 years, but if I go back 20 years, I can identify lots of plans connected with potential operations against Iran. And all of those plans were written with an understanding that, first of all, if you were going to try and employ ground troops, you were probably on your way to the loony bin, because the various routes of entry and points of invasion and so forth were troubled with mountain passes and lots of choke points, about 300 different points in time and space, with bridges and so forth, that you had to give up on the notion of going into the country very far unless your only objective was to occupy Khuzestan. Aircraft and missiles long enough, they can win any war that you want them to fight. They really, truly believe that. And they'll point to anything, whether it was successful or not, and try to claim credit for having won the war, surely with the use of air power. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the larger issue is back to what you said. They didn't really understand what they were up against, that the enemy they thought they were going to fight turned out to be very different. Right. And that's essentially what happened to us, I would argue, in many places, including Vietnam. You know, if you read the intelligence reports and the assessments of the Germans before we landed in Normandy, we depicted the German army as on its last legs. We expected to get much further, much faster than we did. And as a result, when we went to Okinawa, we used far more forces than we did at Normandy, because we recognized that we'd underestimated it. So, you know, I wish I could give you a better answer, but I think we just miscalculated and underestimated.
I guess.
Okay, what you think about that?
Shalom. Pretty much just the same thing. I think some people maybe thought this greater Israel thing wouldn't happen.
Right, okay. Right, yeah. The title of the video is about
And even what they seeing in the,
Obama.
you know.
Go ahead.
Oh no,
Yeah,
Shalom. You said the title of the video?
the title of the video is "The Pentagon Never Saw This Coming." So in so many words, he was saying how that, like we was just talking about, the high ups in the U.S. Army pretty much getting their orders from Netanyahu.
Right.
In other words, you know, it's like he said, the Pentagon didn't see that coming. So yeah. Anyway, with that being said, this next video is about flock spying cameras. Have you ever heard of that?
I've been seeing posts on social media about them.
Okay, it's pretty much the same as that swarm technology they got with the drones.
Right.
Right. So check it out. Let's see what it's talking about.
All right, man, we got to talk about this. These flock cameras are completely and utterly out of control. Everything I'm seeing is horrifying. One thing after the next on this thing is fucking horrifying. So take a look at this.
I think this right here tied to the data centers.
An Atlanta area police chief accessed flock cameras 500 times to track the movements of his ex-girlfriend and her teenage daughter. At least 50 cops have been similarly charged with misusing flock, including to stalk women without their knowledge or consent. So this is literally straight out of the Washington Post, how rogue officers turned a nationwide camera network into a tool for stalking. Flock's array of license plate cameras was built to fight crime, but at least 50 law enforcement officers were charged with or accused of misusing it and other systems. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what happens. Exactly what happens when it comes to these sorts of power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so we saw this with Edward Snowden. and Glenn Greenwald, when they did the leaks on the NSA, the Patriot Act, all the NSA spying programs, Edward Snowden was the one who exposed they were not just using this to go after criminals or terrorists or whatever the fuck. They basically got rid of your constitutional right to privacy. Okay, that's what they did. And they had, it was like standard operating procedure that they would abuse their authority and spy on their love interest, for example. Well, now they have those powers on steroids. Now they can spy even more than they could in the past. And it's getting to the point where we're living in a police state. This is police state type shit. They say over the next 7 months, Stefan continued to search for Bakley's plate over 500 more times, specifically tracking an ex of his. Okay, More Perfect Union says, in one California town, Flock misread license plates in 71% of cases. 71% of the time they misread license plates. Out of a sample of 1,427 alerts that Flock sent to police in the town of Roseville, alerts that flagged vehicles as stolen or used in a felony after they passed one of the city's Flock cameras, 71% were inaccurate. One man's car was misidentified by Flock 6 times. So you have this power that nobody should have, this mass spying power, which is already being abused. But not only is it being abused, also, in many ways, it's stupid and incompetent and dumb and wrong about shit. And so you're getting all sorts of innocent people tangled up in the web. It'd be bad enough if it's being used to go after the quote-unquote right people who committed the crime, but it's even worse when it's going after innocent people and mistaking them. And by the way, what also happens, usually when somebody has information from the system, they're convinced it's real, so those people get harassed. Those people have their days ruined. Those people, are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm totally innocent, and they're treated like they're not. All right, more. A police chief in Georgia used Flock's cameras to track his girlfriend and her teen daughter nearly 600 times. So we already talked about this one here. He's one of 50 cops we found misusing Flock. One of 50 cops. Here's a text message thing between them. How did you see I went to Cleveland the other day? I didn't tell you. I told you I looked it up, said the creepy-ass cop. How would you know, though? Where did you look? Flock camera. I was in a spiral that day. I won't ever look again because of Jesus saved my ass from my pain and trauma. What's a flock camera? It's a camera system that reads tags. Don't worry, I'm not tracking you or some weird stalker shit. Anyways, are you now telling your friends I did that? I'm not tracking you or some weird stalker shit, as he's doing exactly motherfucking that. I can't, bro. I can't with this shit. And then also, Truth Out says the following. Israeli firm plans expanding its deployment of video-altering tech. The lead investor behind Flock also funds a company that can hack security cameras and change the footage. The new police state is here. ICE is basically a Gestapo paramilitary that answer to nobody except Trump. They commit crimes all the time. They're a roving gang of criminals and thugs. They're a criminal syndicate. And now we also have mass spying that would make the Patriot Act days look quaint in comparison. All of your freedoms are being taken away. All of your liberty is being taken away. And this is happening under a conservative, Republican, fascist regime, the Trump regime. So, look, I don't want to hear anything. If you are a principled libertarian, you actually should vote for Democrats and not Republicans. You should actually vote, because Republicans are very clearly, they are the insane warmongers. They are the insane warmongers. Also, look at... who's George W. Bush and Dick Cheney? They are Republicans, and they're the ones who ushered in the Patriot Act in the first place. Now, you could argue Democrats haven't done enough to dismantle these systems. I agree. But the ones who consistently start the atrocious authoritarian programs are the Republicans. And here we are now dealing with all this Flock bullshit. And it is total police state garbage. Mass surveillance, mass spying. Orwell's rolling over in his grave right now. And the more information we get, the more of a horror show it's going to be. Because I guarantee you, these things are incredibly fucking widespread. They got ICE is going around trying to get DNA information on everybody, and they're keeping a long list of people that are enemies of the state. At the same time they're putting up these things, we also have NSPM7, where they specifically say we're targeting liberals and leftists and people who dissent against MAGA as if they're enemies of the state, as if they're terrorists. It's all happening, bro. It's all happening, and it's very ugly. It's very scary. It's terrifying. And the only position that's the reasonable position on this is every single one of those motherfucking Flock cameras needs to be removed. Every single one of them.
Okay, what you think? It sound like the beginning stages is what Pastor Manny was talking about.
Come on, just like it. Sound just like it.
Is that something?
Yes, sir. And brother Leonard, how you said, with those drones too. I mean, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I even been in class sometime and lost myself looking up there in the sky because I see them all the time. It's a ton of drones in the
Oh
sky at
yeah.
night. Yes, sir. So
Is that
I know they watching.
right? Is that something?
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Hmm.
Check this out. Let me see. Says a collapse is coming soon. Israel's army revolts against his own government. Netanyahu in trouble. Let's check it out.
Picture this, a defense minister live on television announcing that he is firing his own army's general in real time, while the army watches, stunned, and basically says, no, he's not. That happened in Israel on live television. Hello and welcome. I am Nikita Kapoor, and you are watching Decoded. And in this episode, viewer, we break down, we decode how Israel's government just picked a fight with its own military on live TV over a settler accused of one of the most disturbing crimes to come out of the West Bank this year. Let's get into it. Israel's defense minister announced on air during an interview that he is replacing the IDF's Central Command Chief, that is Major General Avi Blot, the man in charge of the entire West Bank. Israel Cuts dismissed him on live television on Channel 14, and the IDF says its own chief of staff, Eyal Zamir, did not even know it was coming until Cuts said it on air. Let that sink in for a moment, viewers. The defense minister did not call a meeting, did not issue an order. He went on a TV show and fired a two-star general like he was announcing a cricket squad change. There's just one small problem. He doesn't actually have the authority to do it. Yes, within hours, the IDF hit back hard and in writing. The military said accurately that the defense minister does not have the authority to fire bullets and that the announcement was not coordinated with the chief of staff. It added that the chief of staff has no intention of replacing commanders in key positions during this sensitive period. And if such a decision is ever made, it will go through proper procedure. That is what Israel's military said. Translation in plain English: nice try, minister, sit down. That is the essence here. The IDF went further, publicly defending Bloch himself, calling him a commander who leads Central Command with professionalism, with courage and dedication, and who deserves full trust. Now, why does any of this matter? Why is a defense minister blowing up his relationship with the army over one general? Because of one name, viewers. Tal Yinon Dardik. Yes, Dardik is a settler accused of taking part in a brutal March attack on Palestinian village called Khirbet Humsa. According to reports, he and others allegedly stripped a Palestinian victim, zip-tied his genitals, and paraded him through the village. He denies it. But he was placed under a restraining order, barred from his outpost home. He breached it anyway, landed in detention later, and has been on a hunger strike ever since. Here is where it gets political, viewers. Kurds did not just sympathize with Dardik from a distance, He reportedly visited Dardik in his jail cell. A sitting defense minister visiting a man accused of one of the most disturbing acts of settler violence this year. Last week, a technicality got Dardik's restraining order thrown out. Israel Quds told Bluth, don't renew it. Bluth's legal team appealed anyway, trying to keep the order alive. Once Israel's prime minister said that the government is now acting against its own soldiers, acting against Israeli defense forces. And notice something revealing here. Quds' own office scrambled to defend itself, claiming it was actually Chief of Staff Zamir who first recommended the replacement general back in April and even asked Israel Quds to interview him. Now, when the machinery of a state starts fighting itself in public, allies and adversaries alike take note. We will keep tracking this so you don't have to, because when the army and the government stop speaking the same language, the fallout rarely stays contained. What
Okay, what you think? You think it's some credible information, or you think they set this up? Say that
Oh,
they at odds with each other, the military.
oh, it's a setup.
You think so?
Yes, sir. But I'm sure there is some friction in there between like maybe like the generals, the captains over the soldiers, and the the orders they're getting.
Right, exactly. And then we know that's how a lot of hosts work too. You come in and
Right,
turn
right.
you know what I mean? So yeah,
And
keep an
make
eye
them
on that.
right, yes, sir. Make them fight against each other, brother Leonard.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's one of his characteristics. He did that to the Giants. Remember the
Right,
million man, 1,000 man, 10,000 man army, giant war. He caused them to fight against each other.
right.
And
Take
when
take each other
when
out.
the Lord of hosts came down amongst the Syrian army, that's what they did. When they woke up the next morning, they had killed each other.
Mm, right,
You get some?
sir.
Okay, so yeah.
Mm.
So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and pick a scripture, right? And after we pick the scripture, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A. We got any questions? And anybody in the chat got any questions? AJ, you got any questions? Well, first we'll pick this scripture, and then we'll break it down. Then we'll go into our Q&A.
Shalom, yes, sir. I'm gonna read, brother Leonard, just Psalms 99, and this is just verses 1, 2, and 3, and it
Okay.
says, "Yes, sir. The Lord reigneth; let the people tremble. He sitteth between the cherubims; let the earth be moved. The Lord is great in Zion, and He is high above all the people. Let them praise Thy great and terrible name, for it is holy." And Shalom, that was Psalms 99, verses 1 through 3.
Okay.
And just brother Leonard, because in the classes, you are showing who the Lord of hosts is. And so in verse 1, where it says, the Lord reigneth, let the people tremble, he that sitteth between the cherubims. In the on the Ark of the Covenant, they got the angels on the the Lord of hosts sits there, right? And they minister to
Exactly.
him.
Come down once a year for the Day of Atonement.
Right.
That's what I was
Okay.
saying about when you understand how that works. Yahweh already got a temple. It's in heaven, and we know that. Like I said, they took the information once they translated our scriptures into Greek and studied it. Then they took that information and superimposed it on JC. So if Michael's the one that been there from the beginning, he's the one that's on the right hand side of Yahweh. The, the earth is his footstool. Mount Zion. Okay, ain't that something?
Right, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And
You got anything else? Yeah.
oh no, on and then one more other thing, Brother Leonard, the name you're talking about we are talking about the name. In verse 3 it says, "Let them praise thy great and terrible name,
Right.
for it is holy." And how they try to say we can't say whatever the Lord of hosts name is because it's too holy, but they had to say his name to call on him for
Right.
salvation, right?
Exactly. Yeah, to deal with it. And we see all through the Tanak, anytime they encounter these angels, the first thing they want to know was their name. So how is it that you can't pronounce, you can't say the name of you utter it? Okay, so that's the first thing they ask. What's your name? We saw that with Jacob was wrestled the angel. He inquired of the angel name, and same thing with Hannah. They inquired these angels' names because they understood that they understood the hierarchy, and they understood who was who and what their name was, and what their name represented. That's why they would ask what their name is. Then they'll know who they're dealing with, and how far to take their conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's like a prime example. Let me read it right quick. This is a prime example that I'm talking about. Okay, so we in the book of Daniel, right? Look at it right quick. Okay, in the book of Daniel. Okay, and then we're gonna see that Daniel had a dream. I broke down how that works in our culture. You have a dream. The angel brings you a dream. You get the dream, and then once you have a dream, you inquire understanding of the dream, and then you're expecting an angel to show up and interpret the dream. And so certain angels are over uh, dream interpretation understanding. Gabriel is over. Gabriel, for example, he's the one that brings understanding. Okay, he's the angel of understanding. He the one comes and enlighten uh, our people. So let me show you that for a good example. So right here, I'm gonna read this. I'm in Genesis. I'm in Daniel chapter 7. Okay, and it's a vision of the four beasts. Okay, so it says, yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read this. Let me see. Do this. Yeah, I'll read this. The first 16, 17 verses. It says, this is the story of the four beasts. In the first year of Belteshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream. See that? So it's an angel brought him a dream, and then it's gonna be an angel that's gonna come and give him understanding. Okay. See, and his name is identifies what his capabilities are. So it says, a vision of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream. So see, as soon as he got up, he wrote the dream because it was leaves from you. So he wrote the dream and told the son what the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strode upon the great sea. Four great beasts came out from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given unto it. And behold, another beast, a second, like unto a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three wheels in the mouth of his, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh, After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon his back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and the division of the dominion was given unto it. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong and exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stomped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before which, uh, which before for which were before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and it had a mouth speaking great things. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair in his head like the pure wool. His throne was like fiery flames, and his wheels as burning wheels. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands upon thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flames. As, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him a dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people and nations and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So this was the vision that was brought to Daniel. Now this is my point. Verse 15. Now he just had the vision, right? He don't know understanding of it. So it's an angel. That's his job. Part of his characteristic is to bring the understanding of these visions. So Daniel right here, we know 7 of them, right? 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit. It's after he had the dream. And he grieved in his spirit because the angel had to enter into him and deal with his pineal gland in order to give him the dream. That's why he weak. It says, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body. See that? The angel that just gave him the vision. And the vision of my head troubled me. Now here you go, my point. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked, see that? Asked, just like Hannah did, and asked the truth of all this. So he made me to know the interpretation of the things, right? So when you understand who that is, it's Gabriel. That's what Gabriel is, angel understanding. So Daniel came nearer to Gabriel, and then Gabriel gave him understanding to the meaning of the vision. That's how that worked. Okay, that making sense?
Right, yes, sir.
Okay, so let me see if I can show you that right here. So yeah, so now we're gonna go to another vision, and we're in Daniel 8. And so Daniel had a dream. All right, then it says 15, verse 8 and 15. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning. See, he sought for the meaning. The way to seek for the meaning, he looking for those angels to give him an understanding of it. It's a certain angel. Okay? So he says, and I heard, he says, and I sought for the meaning. So he looking for the meaning. Then, behold, while he looking for the meaning, behold, there stood before me the appearance of a man. See that? It's an angel. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah, which called and said to Gabriel. See that? Gabriel is the one that get understanding. So who is this man he saw? Well, like I broke this down before, from Daniel chapter 7 all the way through 12. The scene is they by this river, and it's an angel Uriel on one bank of the river, and then on the other side of the river is Gabriel and Michael on the water, standing on the water. So when you understand that, verse 15, and it came to pass when I, Daniel, even I had seen the vision, sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as appearance of a man. Now here you go. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah. See that? Who he don't, if he between the banks of the Uriah, he's standing on the water. This ain't no regular man. It's Michael, like I said, Israel's redeemer. God over Israel. So he says, he called Gabriel on one bank. And Gabriel, which is what his name means, Michael says, go make this man understand. Let's read it again. And I heard a man's voice, this Michael, between the banks of the Uriah, which called and said to Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So he's commanding Gabriel to go make Daniel understand the vision. Okay, well we see that's how that works. And if, like I said, you don't understand that, it ain't no way in hell you can even begin to try to deal with these scriptures, or rightly divide the Old and the New Testament, or Yahweh one God, or Yahweh alone. You can't understand none of that. You like tits on a bowhog. Okay, so you got anything on that?
Right, no sir, but well, actually, I'm sorry, yes sir. That makes sense too. How you just made excuse me reference again to the angels having names, and then
Right,
it shows us some of their capabilities as well.
right. Yeah, so that's the reason why you see at the end of this at the end of most of my videos, I got a book that was a book that was written. It tells you all that. All this is inside that little purple book. His story. Yeah, that information is right there, and it's gonna link you to where the information comes from. It's not just bogus information. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and open up for our Q&A. Anybody got any questions, any comments, any dialogue?
Shalom, Berlin, I had a question about I heard the term crypto Jews.
Okay.
You you ever heard of that term?
Right. Yeah.
What does that mean? Who is
That's same as when they always talk about the cryptic.
okay?
They talk about the cryptic, when they talk about uh, Ethiopia,
Okay, right.
the
Hmm.
cryptic Jews. So it's tied to Egypt. Like I was saying, it pretty much it's the Gnostics. It's tied to the Gnostics. So like I was saying, when the Greeks they come in, they have no culture. They want you to think that they're supposed to be so highly intelligent people that created all this stuff. But Hellenization, when you understand what Hellenization is they come in and into a country and they absorb the country's culture and take the good things about that culture and blend it into to their way of life. And then they start calling it, make it as if they created it. So when they came into Egypt, like I was saying, I told the story before. The Egyptians, uh, they personified everything, and a personification is that man. So the Pharaoh and the son is one. You know what I'm saying? Get the meaning. Go to New Testament. So anyway, so when the Greeks came, and because they take everything and Hellenize it, they took the sun out the sky and made a man out of it. That's where you get the black Madonna and child, and from that you get the Gnostics. That's why the Pope and all the cardinals go in these secret rooms, secret chambers, and they worship the Black Madonna and the Child because that's the origin of the Catholic Church. That's the origin of JC. They worship this. That's why you got the Trinity. The Trinity ain't nothing but Isis, Asar, and Horus. Like I said, but when the Greeks came, they took the sun of the sky and made a man out of it. That eventually became with the Messiah, with so-called Jesus Christ. But like I said, it was created by these Gnostics at first. So when Constantine came on the scene, and the Roman Empire, the beast that received the woman in the head and did live, Constantine had needed a religion. He had subdued. He had three other generals or three other or what they call emperors. It was four emperors ruling Rome at one time after it had failed. And so Constantine had aspirations to revive it. That's the beast that received the woman in the head and did live. So Constantine subdued the other three, and he became the sole emperor. But he needed a religion to to glorify it, or to make it to stabilize it. So he went to the Gnostics, stole their religion, and how he stole it, he killed all of them. That's who in the catacombs. That's who was in the Roman up in the being fed to the gladiators and fled to the beast in the arena. So he got rid of the Gnostics and took their religion. That's the origins of Christianity. Okay, like I said, don't take my word for it. Do the research on it. You got everything on that?
Right, so that that makes sense to do it, brother Leonard. And brother Leonard, I had another question when you were just in Daniel. That's my um brother Leonard, this is in when you were just in Daniel 7,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about the Son of Man. So in verse 13, sir, where it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the
Mm-hmm.
ancient of days. Um,
Okay.
yes, sir. Who's that Son of Man, and who's the ancient of days?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you go to okay, let's look at that right quick. Yeah, that's a doozy. So you go to that's chapter 7, right?
Right, yes, sir. And Daniel.
Okay. It says 13. I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and he came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages uh, should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and uh, his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So when just looking at that right there, when in verse 13 it says, I, I saw in the night vision, behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and he came to the Ancient of Days. Okay, so look at that. Go back to Enoch. Who escorted Enoch?
The Lord of Hosts.
Okay, to who? Who? Lord of hosts brought Enoch to who?
Oh, to Yahweh.
Same right here.
Right.
So these angels escorting the Son of Man to Yahweh, right?
Right. Right.
Now watch this. Watch this. Okay. Now he just told that was the dream. That was the he had the dream right there. Now he go to Daniel and gave him the interpretation, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
So now Gabriel giving Daniel the interpretation. We just read 13 and 14 was part of the vision. Now it's being broken down. Look at 26. You 26, verse
Right.
26.
Mm-hmm.
But the judgment is set, right? And they shall take away the dominion. What dominion? Over here. But we just reading. He brought the Son of Man to him. This one, and so we're gonna see who dominion that was. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion. That's Constantine. He the one set it up. They take away his dominion to consume and destroy it until the end. Now here you go. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the saints of the Most High. Who is that? Ezekiel 37, man.
Yes, sir. House of
And
Israel.
he says it's the whole house of Israel, right?
Yes, sir.
And David over them.
Right.
They go to man they brought to him in verse 13. So it says, and the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heavens shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. So this the nation of Israel and the everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve him. Who was the him? David.
Right.
See that?
Sure.
Here too is the end of the matter. And as for me, Daniel, my condemnation was much trouble in me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. And then you go in, like I said, when you understand that, like he says uh, and all dominions shall serve him. So he said, what are you talking about? Go to Ezekiel, right quick. And we'll be through with it. You go to Ezekiel 37, right? And I
Right.
was talking about this the other day. If Yahweh don't have no brain cramps, when he say David, he mean David. If he say Yahushua, Jesus, that's what he means. You can't read David and then say it's Jesus, right?
Right.
So right here, everything we just read over there, what Gabriel told Daniel, here it is right here, 22, and this, the Lord of hosts talking. I will make them one nation. We just saw that. One nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king. See that? Shall be king over them all, and they shall be no more two nations. Neither they Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Neither shall they be defile themselves, these are saints, anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of their dwelling places wherein they are sin, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. Now like he said. So now here go the man they brought to Gabriel and brought that or Michael and brought to the Ancient of Days. The prophecy over with. The curse is over with. Then it says 24. And David, my servant, that's what he told Samuel. Take the oil, take the horn, go anoint David. My servant, I chose David. So he says, and David, my servant, shall be king over them. And they shall all have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe and do my statutes, observe my statutes and do them. So we just read over there in Daniel, he said they're gonna obey and serve him, right?
Yes, sir.
David, David the king.
Come
See
on.
that?
Sir. Mm-hmm.
you take JC out of it, and the New Testament out of it, then it all makes sense.
Right, you can piece it together.
Right. Yeah.
Come on.
You got anything else?
Shalom, no sir.
Okay, so with that being said, if you don't have no more questions or comments, we'll close out right here. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody. We have our Shabbat classes tomorrow. We had a morning Shabbat class. It said start at 10 to 12 a.m. and then we close the Shabbat out tomorrow evening at 6, starting at 6. Yeah, and like I said, it normally lasts about an hour, and if it get hot, it might go a little longer, but normally we close the Shabbat out, it lasts about an hour or so. So with that being said, I want to say shalom to everybody. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament in Tanak, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.